Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. Got some things to talk about tonight, and I'm recording a little bit later, actually a lot later than I anticipated recording, but I've been monitoring what's going on in Washington, D.C. with the 1776 movement. And actually, I've been monitoring it all day because a lot has happened. And so we're going to just start there. Now, this is a stream from a streamer named X-Ray Vision. And I'm just going to play just a little bit of this.
It's time to celebrate life.
Well, maybe not. Let's get out of that. Here we go, take two on that. Sharing a little bit of a video from X-Ray Vision. And just as a little bit of a setup, we reported that the 1776 movement is planning on staying at the National Mall. They have made it through their first 24-hour period. They're at about 36 hours now. And there's quite a bit to talk about with this organization. I'm going to play a small video here.
Okay, so I don't have any weight.
As I said, this small group, 30 people maybe, have established a foothold, if you will, and are holding the line in Washington, D.C. for this movement. Two counter protesters showed up, and here's a little bit of what happened.
What I say, that makes me sound like a total fucking nut job, right?
You're crazy. Yeah, you're nut. Look at you. You're a nut.
I live here. This is my city, and my fashion. So fuck you.
How do you know I'm the fastest?
Because you think Trump won the election,
No, I
and
don't.
you were here.
I believe in our
You were here.
I'm
The fact that you were here.
friend with police brutality. I'm against police brutality. Do you like police brutality? Do you believe in police
What do you
brutality?
think about Jalen Walker?
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Jalen Walker is?
No, I live in the
He
woods.
doesn't know the man that was shot 90 times. The man that he claims is so dependent on police brutality. No, this man that was murdered by police.
Hey, guess what?
3 days
She's a
ago.
nurse. Do you want her to help
90
you?
times and hit 60 times. And then
Okay. First of all, we've watched a lot of protests on this channel, and the 1776 movement hasn't been watching our channel. They don't know how to protest, or the person is doing this intentionally. Something to think about.
handcuffed.
You don't get in the other person's space. You know,
You back.
My face. You're gonna hit me back.
Strike
Do it,
it.
motherfucker.
You're a nurse.
How dare you? Fucking dare you?
What kind of nurse are you?
Have to go.
Hey, if you want ho-ho, look here and look here. Here's your ho-ho. God bless you.
Yeah.
okay. He calls them hoes and then says, God bless you. Okay. That's what's wrong. One of the major things wrong with this movement. They try to portray themselves as Christian, but a lot of their behaviors are anything but. Listen to the rest of the words.
I feel the Christ washing over you. I do. He who is without sin casts the first stone.
I'm not casting stones. I'm just saying you're a healthcare provider. You should speak calmly
You
and
just called me
rationally.
a hoe. That's
You're acting like one.
really? What have I done that's sexually promiscuous?
When you came out here,
What have I done that's sexually promiscuous?
how do you know that's what hoe means?
That's what hoe means.
What is a hoe? Right there, folks. What's another one? Right there. God bless you. Ho-ho! These folks are so really ho. Ho-ho! These You smell
I
like
don't
a
give a
foot.
shit.
You smell like a foot.
Don't give a shit.
You're a nurse. You should have
Don't
better
give a
hygiene.
fucking shit.
Tell me about your lovers.
Don't give a fucking
You
shit.
don't have any lovers. That's why you act like this.
Really? Right? Have I been married for 21 years?
Nobody would marry you.
Oh, yeah. A real man. Because men, I don't care equal.
I'm not a great Indian brother. Oh, that's
You
right.
don't want women.
Yes, I do.
You don't want women.
Of course I do. I love
No,
women.
you don't. If you don't think I should have control over my own uterus, you don't want women.
I believe that abortion is okay, especially with incest or rape.
Only if I'm traumatized so I get to have bodily autonomy.
I don't know. I have a decision. What if I help make that baby? It's I have a choice. Well, if I came in your pussy and you were going to have a baby, I should have something to say. I should have something to say. Well, if you give me permission,
I never would.
well, what if you did? What would it
I'm
feel
not
like?
going to.
What would it
And
smell
I'm
like?
trying to be crude.
Okay. Most Christian, actual true Christian people would never talk to a stranger this way. I don't know. Most of the people that are in that movement there would not be doing what's being done here. Just something to think about.
In class and sexualized me. I have not been sexual at all towards you.
You're a filthy creature.
Fuck off. Here's the real.
Okay, now we're going to jump ahead a little bit. And this is his video, okay? And there are other angles to all of this, but right about here.
In my own bed. And I shower daily. Oh my God. I live here. And I don't have to live in a fucking camper.
Now somebody, I don't know you if you think this is Christian behavior. This is what gives Christians a bad name. Now, the guy back here in the red, if we showed some other videos from today, he would be in a wheelchair because he's collecting disability. I don't know how far and wide these videos are going to go out, but if the wrong people see him dancing around, throwing a flag around, and then see him pushing himself in a wheelchair a little bit later, it's either miraculous or fraud. And from some of the emails I've been getting after showing some of these videos, there might be a whole lot of fraud going on in this movement. Just something to think about. All right. Because a lot of people are putting a lot of money into this. And
I live here.
Just get the hell out of my country.
okay. We're gonna make this very long story shorter. The guy you just saw, I mean, back you, well, we'll just go ahead. So you get a good look at the
Steps down. The White House comms director stepped down. In light of Biden's crimes, he's complicit with his son Hunter's dealings, international dealings. The traitors they're talking about.
Okay. Here we go. This has been going on now for about a half an hour. And we're getting to the point. Well, we're not quite to the point yet. The black woman that was there protesting, the guy you saw grabbing his crotch and calling him hoes, and then say God bless you after calling him hoes, which is not the message. He took a whack, a hard whack at the black woman and got arrested for it eventually, because we always talk about create a problem, blame somebody else, play the victim. This guy created this problem by coming up to where these women were launching a counter protest. He came up, got in their faces. He dances around very sexually looking towards these women, trying to hump them. And it was obvious he was provoking, a provocateur. He was provoking something. Then after he smacks at the woman, hits the megaphone. I don't think he hit her, but he smacked hard. He runs to the police and informs the police that he has been assaulted. Everything's on video. The police see the video, see him whack at her, and they come and arrest him. Within 3 hours, he's back out. Now, for my friends that have seen the protests, been part of the protests, no matter where you've been, when somebody gets taken in by the police, they don't even go in front of a judge, and in less than 3 hours, they are back out. What's the first thing that goes through your head? An agent provocateur? Something to think about, because this guy's someone to keep an eye on. If you are in that movement, because and even if you're not in that movement, we're going to keep, because I'm not, but we're going to keep an eye on this guy, because if he's not an agent provocateur, if he's not working with the government, he's a very dangerous potential loose cannon to the public, and we're going to keep an eye on him. And that's just one of the things that happened with this movement. Now, the same guy, this same X-ray, is the guy we showed last night who said 2 more convoys are coming. The reason I'm late is because I've been monitoring this stuff at a very late meeting, and one of the convoys is coming from Elkhart, Indiana. One of the convoys is coming from Texas. One of the convoys is coming from the state of Washington, supposedly coming down to DC to reinforce the 1776 movement that is there. Their leader, Santa, David Rydell, we talked about in last night's episode, had been arrested yesterday. As soon as they got there, it was a plan. Everything was planned. The police obviously knew they were coming when they were going to get there. They had the wreckers to tow the what they call them, bobtails, the tractor, part of the tractor trailer, and they towed one. Actually, they didn't. A police officer drove one of them out, and then the other drivers all left with their individual tractors. And supposedly reinforcements are coming down this Saturday, or coming down to be here before Saturday. This is now early Friday morning, the 8th day of July. It's 12:19 as I'm recording this. So why is that a big deal? Well, if they do establish a foothold, and if there's a significant, because the call has gone out to all the patriot organizations, all of them, the QAnons, the 3 percenters, everybody that was there January 6th, Representatives from all of them are currently there, and more are on the way. Okay. Why does that matter? Women's March, July 9. Today is July 8. July 9, Women's March, DC event. The DC event is part of what organizers are calling the Summer of Rage, following the Supreme Court's reversal of Roe v. Wade. You're getting two polar opposite groups. Okay, one that is for women's rights, and the other has a lot of Proud Boys in it that want to take the Constitution back to the original 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, which excludes women and minority from having any rights. That's what the original Constitution was. Okay, that's what they want to take it back to. The women over here that are fighting for women's rights, they are not ignorant. They know what this group wants to take them back to, even though a lot of people in this group don't realize what they are planning to take them back to. They just freedom. You know, they really don't understand the actual Constitution and those first 10 amendments, and that's all they are going to get if they go back to this way. Now, I'm going to show tomorrow the interview that was done with the leader tonight, because he talks about working with people in Congress and basically overturning everything. So you're going to have this Women's March in what they have dubbed, quote, the Summer of Rage, end quote. You're going to have a massive amount of people from two polar opposite sides of the agenda in the country. One wanting women's rights, the other wanting white men dominating everything and making all decisions, and only white men that think like these white men. It's too coincidental that all of these things are happening. That's why we talk about preparing on here, being prepared for things, because there is just so much that seems to be pushing everything into a pressure cooker where there has to be an explosion. And it could be this Saturday. And it could be right in Washington, D.C., and we could be all watching it on live streams. Because two potentially, not potentially, but two passionate groups with many differing opinions. As we've already seen in a microcosm, we saw one conflict between just two strong women and a group of the patriots. And those two women, those two protesters stood out there for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And they were taking the verbal abuse and they were giving abuse back. All right. I've already told you the name of the guy, X-Ray Vision. It's XRAYVISION. You can go watch that. You can hashtag 1776 Restoration Movement, and you can find all different kinds of views of everything I've been talking about. If you don't, if you don't trust me, and if you don't, you haven't been watching for a while, because I just don't put stuff out, and I like truth. I don't create drama. I show you drama like I just showed you when it is part of a bigger picture, but not just for the fact of showing things. So what else is going on? Pardon me. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson resigned today amid a scandal, one of many scandals that have been going on. Why is this significant? Well, with what's going on in Eastern Europe, Boris Johnson was a strong proponent and advocate for Zelensky. Is that going to change things? Are positions going to change in Europe? Something we're going to keep an eye on. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it tonight because we've got a bunch of things to talk about still, including Brittany Griner pleaded guilty. She faces up to 10 years in a Russian prison. I don't have any answers for why she pled guilty. I don't have any answers for why that would be sound advice. All this does is bring up a lot more questions, in my opinion, but we are going to keep watching it. I talked last night, I talked at the beginning of the episode about what was going on in Israel. And 5 hours ago, it was breaking news in Israel. We had it before one of the major sources within Israel talks, basically this whole thing is about what we told you last night. And again, if you didn't see it last night, Iran has enough enriched uranium for at least 5 missiles, 5 nuclear warheads. And so don't be surprised if we don't see something happening from Israel in a move to, I can't think of the word, the word I'm trying to find is escaping me, and I apologize for that. Preemptive. That's the word. A preemptive strike strikes a significant military action on the part of Israel in a preemptive move to neutralize Iran before it becomes even more powerful. Derek Chauvin, who kneeled on the neck of George Floyd, has been sentenced on federal charges as well as state charges. And also in Akron, protesters continue to clash with police. 7 hours ago, this was released and by CBS Mornings, so they're going to be playing it on their morning show coming up. Relatives of 2 high-profile victims of police violence were detained in protest over the death of Jayland Walker. And I planned on having this up. Breonna Taylor's aunt.
What is going on, brother?
What did I do? Nothing. You're alive.
Jacob Blake Jr. is the black man that was shot in the back while reaching into his van, and is paralyzed from the waist down. That started what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where Kyle Rittenhouse ended up killing 2 people and maiming another. His father was at this protest in support of what had happened to Jayland Walker. If you don't know about Jayland Walker yet, like the protesters in Washington don't have a clue. We heard that previously in this episode on that video. if you don't know, he was gunned down by 8 police officers in Akron, Ohio, over 90 rounds shot, 63 different wounds, and he was handcuffed when he got to the medical examiner's office. Well, after being pronounced dead at the scene. So Breonna Taylor's aunt is filming what's happening to Jacob Blake Sr.
No, he's detained.
He's detained for what? What is he detained for?
He's not moving right now.
So things are not going to go quickly into the good night in Austin. And again, I imagine Saturday, there are going to be protests around the country as word is spreading as to what happened to this young man. And you combine those protests with the DC event is part of what organizers are calling the Summer of Rage. There's going to be a mass amount of women in Washington, DC. There are going to be mass amount of women at every state capital, okay? There are going to be people protesting for justice for Jayland Walker. Going to be a lot of soft targets for people that want to do harm. We talked about them last night, doomers. Just something to think about. We'll be talking about it tomorrow too, but keep your head on a swivel. Situational awareness, know where you're at, know how to get out. Don't get into a situation that you can't get out of. Don't get trapped into a place where there's no escape. Make sure you know exits on where you're at. If it means missing something, miss it. And if you get a situation where your gut says, get out of here, get out of there. Just something to think about. Final story of the night. This is getting more and more interesting. When I first became aware of it, I was like, okay, you know, somebody was being mischievous, and they blew up the Georgia Guidestones. Then and I said last night, I said, you know, this place is monitored 24/7. They got cameras on it all the time. So they should have pictures of the explosives being set, and they should have pictures of the explosion. There are pictures of the explosion, and the explosion is blue. All right, most explosions are yellow, orange, red, some tint in that registry. The explosion is blue, and there are no pictures. There's video of a car leaving, a fairly nice car leaving, but there's no pictures of anybody planting any explosives, and the explosion is blue. Now, it doesn't obliterate the monument, but it heavily damaged the guide stones. The car pulls away, silver car, nice looking car. First thing that went through my head after seeing all this was everything we've been talking about on this channel. These weapons that, you know, Russia discovered in, you know, we played a tape from 1988 when they were talking about things Russia had then. We've probably got those now. And could that have been someone from our own government, or someone from another government, or someone from an organization above all governments that wanted that thing destroyed, and did it with one of these weapons that we've been talking about, one of these microwave weapons, one of these wave weapons, because the explosion's blue. And then the remaining portion is destroyed. Okay. There was the explosion, and part of it was heavily damaged, but part of it was still standing. So they come in the very next day and destroy everything. It's just something to think about. Why would they destroy the entire thing instead of trying to rebuild what was destroyed? Unless you didn't want people to know what had tried to destroy it. I don't know. Just something to think about. That's what we do on here. So thank you very much for watching. Just a quick recap in case you came in, well, in case you just hopped into the middle of this for some reason, or because we covered a lot. A brief recap. Saturday could be a potentially ugly day in America because of the incredibly high tensions our country is currently experiencing, because of the divisions, because of the mistrust, the hate, the supremacy, the entitlements, just because of just because there's so many divisions. For just one, you know, we might be able to work on healing it. But there's so many divisions. You know, we're at the point now where we have to pray that God has mercy. You know, it used to be God bless America. God has to have mercy on the world, because we as human beings are in so many different ways hell-bent on destruction. And that's just something to think about. So we've got the 1776 Restoration Movement Patriot Group calling on other patriot groups, trying to get a foothold to establish an occupation of the National Mall. They've been there 24 hours, now 36 hours, and we'll see if they're there in the morning. If they're there in the morning, it's going to be tough to get them out before Saturday, when all the women's rights protesters come. Potential for conflicts are large. Word is spreading about what happened to Jayland Walker, and this weekend protests for justice could be popping up everywhere. And as expected. As yeah, I mean, there should be righteous indignation in the Black communities, but at the same time, it's been happening so long that they've got to be getting to the point where, you know, we're not going to protest anymore. We're just gonna start getting even. And Lord, I hope it never comes to that. But that possibility has to be mentioned because it is in some people's minds. And we talk truth on here. So we don't know what's going to happen with Brittany Griner. She pled guilty. We don't know what is going to happen in Israel. Is Ezekiel's war around the corner, which subsequently leads to Jacob's troubles. Those that don't understand the Bible prophecies, is Israel about to fight a war with Iran, Russia, and Turkey? Primarily fought in the land of Syria and Lebanon and Israel, as the Bible tells us will happen, which leads to Armageddon, Jacob's trouble from the Torah perspective. Of course, the Georgia Guidestones. Why were they destroyed? I mean, I thought it was just going to be, I thought it was mischievous, and I didn't really put a lot of stock into it until I saw the videos. And take a look for yourselves, because I was going to play it, and I thought, well, somebody can always say you messed with the video before you played it and you changed the colors and and so I want to bring it forward to you to do your own examinations. And after you do, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. As with everything else, leave a comment. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when we're on. We will be back on sometime, actually later on today now, 12:42 as I'm ending this. So it'll be up about 2 o'clock in the morning. So sometime Friday afternoon, early Friday evening, look for another episode, or look for notification that we'll be live tomorrow night. Again, thanks for watching. Something to think about. I love you all.